NFL Sundays now seem long gone, so it's officially mock draft season. This time around, we have the Bears trading away Justin Fields to a team you'll see later on the video. But regardless, that would explain them taking Caleb Williams first overall. As draft day approaches, it has become clearer and clearer that the Bears are more likely to get Williams than to sticking with Justin Fields. The quarterback out of USC could turn out to be a generational pick, so although risky, this decision could turn out great for Chicago. With the second overall pick, the Commanders get Drake May. The QB out of North Carolina seems to be a good fit for Washington, and I believe he's talented enough to start right away. This would be a no-brainer unless they are considering maybe taking Jaden Daniels, who by the way is just being taken by the New England Patriots. This would be amazing for this team, and if they were able to get him some help at wide receiver, he could turn out amazing. Kind of a risk taking him at number 3, but the Patriots must grab a quarterback in the draft. Moving on to the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. If they are to stick with Kyler Murray, why not give him one of the best receivers college football has ever seen? Harrison would be a day 1 star over in Arizona, and in this position, picking him would be a no-brainer. At number 5, the Chargers get Joe Alt. Many say LA and Brock Bowers are the perfect match, and I agree, but Joe Alt is just that good. And also, the Chargers lost Justin Herbert to an injury last season, so they must do everything they can to stop that from happening again. With the 6th pick, the Giants get Malik Neighbors. With all top 3 quarterbacks off the board, I think they won't reach for one, but instead get the best receiver available. Neighbors would easily be the best receiver on this team, so it's not a tough pick at all. Moving on, the Tennessee Titans grab Olu Fashanu. They could use some help in the trenches, and the offensive lineman out of Penn State would be a good scheme fit. And hey, there aren't a lot of players I think they would rather take in this position. At number 8, the Atlanta Falcons pick Dallas Turner. I don't think they're gonna go for a quarterback here, especially since it would be a ginormous reach. Turner is insanely talented, and I'm sure Atlanta would be more than happy to have a defensive end of his caliber. Moving on, the Bears get Rome Odunze. They got their franchise quarterback earlier on, so it's time to give him a top tier wideout to pair with DJ Moore. With this, the Bears would be poised to have a pretty solid offense moving forward, so this would be great for them. With the 10th overall pick, the Jets get Brock Bowers. If he miraculously falls all the way down to number 10, the Jets shouldn't hesitate for a second. He would provide both protection and a reliable target for Aaron Rodgers, which is exactly what the Jets need right now. At number 11, the Minnesota Vikings select Nate Wiggins. They could use some cornerback help, and I think the guy out of Clemson will climb up the rankings after the combine. That means that taking him at number 11 would actually be quite realistic for Minnesota. Up next, the Broncos get Jared Verse 12th overall. They could go for a quarterback here, but I think it would not be a smart decision. Verse has shown to be a consistent player, and his upside is enormous, so why not take him here? With the 13th pick, the Raiders select Talia Sefuaga. The offensive tackle out of Oregon State would be a day 1 starter in Las Vegas, and if developed correctly and in the right situation, he could even end up being the best lineman of this entire draft class. At number 14, the Saints pick J.C. Latham. He's the best lineman available, and with most of their position of needs being either filled up or not having enough talent available, I think this would be the best thing New Orleans can do at number 14. On to the Colts, Terrion Arnold. Indianapolis needs some help at cornerback, and the guy out of Alabama for me seems as the best scheme fit, although maybe not being the most talented guy out there. Risky pick here, but it could turn out great. Now for the Seahawks, they'll take Jershawn Newton. Could you imagine if this happened? The Seahawks would have a top tier player at pretty much every single defensive position, so if Newton is available here, they have to grab him. At number 17, the Jaguars will acquire Cooper DeJean. This guy could turn out to be the best cornerback in the draft. If he's available at number 17, I just don't see the Jaguars passing on him. In my opinion, that would be a terrible mistake. In the 18th position, the Bengals grab Amarius Mims. If they can give Joe Burrow more protection, they will. Mims is incredibly talented, and he would be a long-term solution to the defensive line issue over in Cincinnati. Moving on to number 19, the Rams select Layadu Ladu. Although maybe not being a star caliber player just yet, I would dare to say he's the most talented edge rusher of this year's class. Under proper coaching, this guy can become an all-pro, so I think the Rams will take their chances with him. At number 20, we have a trade, and this trade would send Justin Fields to the Steelers, and so now with the Bears in this position, they'll go ahead and draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. They went offense with their first 2 picks, so it makes sense to switch it up now. McKinstry could start right away, and even though it's not the best situation for him, I think he could eventually thrive after some playing time. Now for the Dolphins, Jackson Powers Johnson. This guy could end up being the best center in the NFL as soon as 3 years from now, I'm calling it. The Dolphins would be all but sad to have him around, especially if they decide to keep Tua under center. At number 22, the Eagles get Quinyon Mitchell. He has been climbing up the draft boards non-stop recently, so I wouldn't be surprised if he went round 1. The Eagles need to get a cornerback early in the draft, so I think Mitchell could be the solution to that issue. With the 23rd overall pick, the Houston Texans select Byron Murphy. They must get some help on the trenches, especially if they want Will Anderson to be even more successful. Murphy has a very high ceiling, and low-key I quite like the fit for him on this team. On to the Cowboys, they'll select Troy Fautanu. There are rumors out there saying they'll pay even more money to Dak Prescott, so hey, the least they can do is give him some extra protection. He may not be the best player available, but it wouldn't be a terrible pick. Moving on, the Green Bay Packers take Jordan Morgan. Jordan Love proved last season he can be a great NFL quarterback, so it's now time for the Packers to help him with anything they can. I don't think they'll go for a receiver on 1 since they never do, but taking Morgan here seems quite realistic in my opinion. At number 26, we have a second trade in this video, with the Kansas City Chiefs moving up to get a top wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. KC needs to grab a wideout, so I have them trading up in order to get ahead of receiver needy teams. Thomas would be a sort of Tyreek Hill for Patrick Mahomes given his explosiveness, so I'm pretty sure this duet would go crazy right away. Now for the Cardinals, Graham Barton. They got a receiver earlier on, so I think they'll continue to build their offense in order to give Kyler Murray a first shot to succeed. Barton is not the best lineman out there, but when it comes to potential, he definitely has something special. With the 28th overall pick, the Buffalo Bills select Troy Franklin. Amid rumors regarding pretty much every Bills receiver, I have them taking one in the draft. Franklin would quickly adjust to Josh Allen's style of play, and I'm sure he could eventually become one of the best wideouts in the entire league. Up next, the Detroit Lions will get Ennis Rakestraw. This is not a terrible scheme fit, and the Lions do need to improve their defensive backs. I wouldn't hate this pick, but I'm also not totally convinced by it either, but when you think about it, it does make some sense. Moving on to the Ravens, they select Lat McConkey. They've got to get a wide receiver here. It's still arguably a top priority for them. The wideout out of Georgia would match perfectly with Zay Flowers, and I'm pretty sure Lamar Jackson would love to have someone else to throw to. With the 31st pick, the 49ers get Tyler Guyton. I think offensive line is one need the Niners will probably overlook, but in case they don't, Guyton might as well just be their guy. He could probably start relatively soon, and the potential he has is honestly pretty decent. And with the 32nd overall pick, the Buccaneers select Braylon Trice. They traded back since most edge rushers were already gone, so why not get extra value and still get their guy. Trice would be an amazing fit for Tampa, and I think he has the talent to be a great player sooner rather than later. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.